Prince Lestat, The Vampire Chronicles by Anne Rice. From my stone pillow I have dreamed dreams of the mortal world above. I have heard its voice, its new music, as lullabies as I lie in my grave. I have envisioned its fantastic discoveries. I have known its courage and timeless sanctum of my thoughts. And though it shuts me out with its dazzling forms, I long for one with the strength to roam it fearlessly, to ride the devil's road through its heart. Alessandra, yet unnamed in The Vampire Lestat. The old truths and ancient magic, revolution and invention, all conspire to distract us from the passion that in one way or another defeats us all. The weary, finally, of this complexity, we dream of that long ago time when we sat upon our mother's knee and each kiss was the perfect consummation of desire. What can we do but reach for the embrace of that must now contain both heaven and hell, our doom, again and again and again. Lestat, the Vampire Lestat. In the flesh, all wisdom begins. Beware the thing that has no flesh. Beware the gods. Beware the idea. Beware the devil. Maharat to Jesse in Queen of the Damned. Blood Genesis. In the beginning were the spirits. They were invisible beings, heard and seen only by the most powerful sorcerers or witches. Some were thought to be malevolent, some were praised as good. They could find lost objects, spy upon enemies, and now and then affect the weather. The two great witches, Makare and Maharat, lived in a beautiful valley on the side of Mount Carmel, and they communed with the spirits. One of these spirits, the great and powerful Amal, could, in his mischief-making, take blood from human beings. Tiny bits of blood entered the alchemical mystery of the spirit, though how no one knew. But Amal loved the witch Makare and was even eager to serve her. She saw him as no other witch ever had, and he loved her for it. One day, the troops of an enemy came, soldiers of the powerful Queen Akasha of Egypt. She wanted the witches. She wanted their knowledge, their secrets. This wicked monarch destroyed the valley and the villages of the Makare and the Maharat and brought the sisters by force to her own kingdom. Amal, the furious, familiar spirit of the witch Makare, sought to punish the queen. When she lay dying, stabbed over and over by her conspirators of her own court, this spirit of Mal entered into her, fusing with her body and her blood, and giving her a new and terrifying vitality. This fusion caused a new entity to be born into the world, and the vampire, the blood drinker. From the blood of this great vampire, Queen Akasha, and all the other vampires of the world were born over the millennia. A blood exchange was the means of procreation. To punish the twins who stood opposed to her and her new power, Akasha blinded Maharat and tore the tongue from Makare. But before they could be executed, the steward of the queen, Kaiman, a newly made blood drinker himself, passed on to the twins the powerful blood. Kaiman and the twins led a rebellion against Akasha, and they could not stop her call to blood drinker gods. Eventually, the twins were captured and separated, sent out as castaways. Maharat into the Red Sea, and Makare into the great ocean of the West. Maharat soon found familiar shores and thrived, but Makare, carried across the ocean to the lands yet undiscovered and unnamed, vanished from history. This was 6,000 years ago. The great Queen Akasha and her husband, King Ankhel, went mute after 2,000 years. maintained like statues in a shrine by the elders and priests that believed Akasha contained the sacred core, and that if she should be destroyed, all the blood drinkers in the world would die with her. But by the time of the Common Era, the story of the blood genesis was completely forgotten. Only a few elder immortals passed on that tale, though they did not believe it, even though they told it. Yet blood gods, vampires dedicated to the old religion, still reigned in the shrines throughout the world. Imprisoned in hollowed-out trees or brick cells, these blood gods starved for blood until the holy feasts at which they were brought offerings, evildoers to judge and condemn and feast upon. At the dawn of the Common Era, an elder, a keeper of the divine parents, abandoned Akasha and Ankhil in the desert for the sun to destroy them. All over the world, young blood drinkers perished, burnt to death in their coffins, their shrines, or on their tracks, as their sons shone on the mother and father. But the mother and father themselves were too strong to perish, and many of the very old ones survived as well, though badly burned and in pain. A newly made blood drinker, a wise Roman scholar by the name of Marius, went down to Egypt to find the king and queen and to protect them, so that no holocaust would ever again ravage the world of the undead. And thereafter Marius made them his sacred responsibility. The legend of Marius and those who must be kept endured for almost 2 millennia. In the year 1985, the story of the blood genesis was told to all the world's undead, that the queen lived, that she contained the sacred core. This was part of the story. It appeared in a book written by the vampire Lestat, who also told the tale in the song and dance, in film, and from the stage where he performed as a rock singer, calling the world to know and destroy his own kind. Lestat's voice waked the queen from the millennia of the silence and slumber. She rose with a dream that she would dominate the world of human beings through cruelty and slaughter, and become for them the Queen of Heaven. But the ancient twins came forward to stop Akasha. They too heard Lestat's songs. Maharet appealed to the queen to stop her superstitious blood tyranny, and the long-lost Makari, rising from the earth after the untold aeons, decapitated the great queen and took the sacred core into herself as she devoured the dying queen's brain. Makari, under the protection of her sister, became the new queen of the damned. Lestat once again wrote the story. He had been there. He had seen the passing of the power with his own eyes. He gave his testimony to everyone. The mortal world took no notice of his fictions, but his tale shocked the undead. And so the story of the origins and the ancient battles of vampire powers and vampire weaknesses and wars for control of the dark blood became the common knowledge of the undead tribe the world over. It became the property of old ones who'd been comatose for centuries in caves or graves, of young ones misbegotten in jungles or swamps or urban slums who had never dreamed of their antecedents. It became the property of wise and secretive survivors who had lived in isolation through the ages. It became the legacy of all blood drinkers the world over to know they shared a common bond, a common history, a common root. This is the tale of how that knowledge changed the tribe and its destiny forever.